What's up, guys? You are listening to HVAC Masters of the Hustle, and this is your host, J Dub Moneymaker, and welcome to episode 120 to you guys. First off, I want to say thank you for everyone that reaches out and tells me truly every week how this podcast is bringing you and your company to that next level, you guys, because that's what it's all about. And for all the new listeners out there, make sure you smash the subscribe button because, like I said, this podcast is helping thousands and thousands and thousands of people get to the next level. And as you guys know, I have a big event November 11th and 12th in Vacaville, California, with the Weldon Long on stage, and he's going to be helping you guys get to the next level as well. So make sure you guys check out the website. I'm going to go ahead and float that at the bottom of the screen. It's www.hvacmastersofthehustle.com. That's masters with an S. And man, do we have a great episode for you guys today. So I tell you guys how I got into the industry. And man, this is the legend himself. Let's go ahead and welcome Bill Roberts, the owner of The Good Guys in Sacramento, California. How you doing, Bill?
I'm good, Jay. How you, bud?
Oh, I'm doing great, man. So for all my listeners tuning in on this episode, this is my father-in-law. This is my mentor. This is the gentleman that started me in the industry to make me become the beast I am today, and I owe everything to him. So welcome to the podcast, Bill.
Oh, quite the introduction. Thank you, brother.
You're welcome. So tell my listeners a little bit about yourself. How did you get into this crazy industry that we call heating and air?
Almost 30 years ago, was working building cars for a living, believe it or not. And 3 young kids, blew out my knee, laying in bed with a machine that moved my knee back and forth, and was figuring out I need something new. I can't work as an auto worker my whole life. My stepfather actually didn't retire from it. They shut down the plant on him. So I already started to worry about that, having 3 kids. Excuse me. So I was sitting there laying in bed about 1 o'clock in the morning because I couldn't sleep, and a commercial came on, infomercial about going to school in Fremont to be a heating and air technician. And I used to visit with my in-laws up in Roseville, where it was about 110 in summertime when we'd go up there. And so I said, man, woke up my wife at the time and said, hey, this looks like an opportunity I should probably look into. Well, went down the next day, signed up. I went to night school, got up every day 5 in the morning to go to work. And then I went to night school for 4 hours for about a year and a half to learn the trade, to get in it. And then sold the house, moved up to Rockland, moved the kids, moved everything, and went from almost $30 an hour to $12 an hour, doing install helper, apprentice stuff. So you got to take your lumps, but I wanted my family to be in a better place than the Bay Area, and more family atmosphere, and all the stuff that they promised in that commercial came true. Work hard, you get to it, and 6 figures is very obtainable. I've done that for the last 15 years, which is nice, and as I told you when you first were asking to get in the business, the money's there. You just gotta work hard.
Yeah. So talking about you making $30 at the automo plant, right? And then going to $12 an hour, having 3 kids, that's a big risk, a big gamble, right? How did you know that this was going to be the right gamble for you? So some of my listeners that might be, greener in the industry and might be thinking, is this really the right choice for me?
Well, the one thing that I noticed in this business, and I've kind of, I think I've even talked to you about this, is I always go in and any company or anything I've ever done since I was a kid, being the youngest out of 7 kids, I always look who's making the most money, who's doing the best. That's who I want to get taught from. That's who I want to kind of mimic and understand what they're doing. So in the heating and air, I did some research. I looked at it and talked to a lot of people, and most contractors have really nice houses, really nice boats. They always have those nice things. So I knew with my work ethic that my father taught me that, it was kind of a no-brainer. and then moving up to a place at 110-degree summers, it was a supply and demand. So I knew if I put myself in a position in a company that I could work hard with, I knew I would eventually get there. And my success was, fairly faster than most because of that.
Yeah. And, when you got, talking about work ethic and everything like that, that's something that you always told me that you got from your father. And one saying that you said that's always stuck with you is you treat everyone like family, you'll never be out of business. Right. And that's something that you live to today. Can you go into that?
Well, my father was a contractor, a general contractor since I was a baby. Every summer I'd go down there and work, and then I got the call one day. My father lived down in Texas, that my father was dying. And me and my older brother went out there, and about 2 or 3 days before he passed, we went on a walk backside of his acreage out there. And I asked him, me and my father had kind of a tough relationship. He was strong-headed and in the Korean War, 15 years old, a POW at 16. So he was a
Well,
pretty
that's where
strong-minded
you get it from.
That's what they say. But I asked him, I said, here's your time to give you the father son some advice. And his first thing was, well, I wouldn't have drank as much. And I'm like, well, yeah, I can understand that. That's what you're dying from. And the second was, he says, just treat everybody like their family, and you'll always work. You'll always have work. So that stuck with me, that, my father and I, we talk sports and we talk business. And that was his one thing that he sent me off with in the world, without him. So it meant a lot. I've trained that. I've trained you, multiple. You've seen me in my trainings back when I used to do a lot of training. That's the thing that stuck with me. And that's how I've started my business here, at Good Guys, excuse me, with building that family atmosphere and treating people the way you want to be treated. Very similar how you've grown your business, Jay. We go through this world, and we find all these things we like and we don't like. The problem is a lot of people make excuses to be the dislike stuff, to make the excuses to be the jerk, or be the, yell at your employees, do those things like that. That's not what it's about, So
Absolutely.
that was some great advice that I kind of carry on, and hopefully my kids are carrying it with them too.
Yeah, absolutely. And, talking about you starting into this industry as an install helper, right? What was kind of, talking to the green listeners out there, what was the role that you had, and what was the most difficult thing, if you could remember? Because I know you've been in this industry for quite some time, but if you could remember walking in the first day, what was the first hardest thing that you had to overcome?
That's a great question. It sticks with me till this day. That first day I walked in that company, when a kid, probably 10 years my junior, handed me the keys when I thought I was walking into a meeting, told me to go wash the trucks. And I looked at him, and what the, and he says, you're the new guy. You got to take your lumps. So I washed trucks for about a week every other day when they brought them in and stuff. And, being 28, 30 years old at the time, it was a big ego swallow there. You know what I mean? And, but I knew I had to provide for my family. I knew that one day somebody would be washing my truck. So that's
Absolutely.
kind of what I thought every time I went out and did it. You got to do what you got to do.
Absolutely. And it's funny that you bring that up, washing the trucks, because when I was a warehouse manager, right, I'm sure you remember this, there was times where we were slow, right? We had to wash the trucks. And I remember I came up to you and I was like, man, this sucks. It's 100 and something degrees outside. I got to wash these trucks. And you looked at me and you said, boy, why are you complaining? How much do car wash people make, right? Minimum wage. You're out here making 55,000 salary washing trucks right now. So you make sure you wash this truck like you're the best detailer out there.
Best paid car washer in Sacramento. Yeah.
Absolutely, right?
And
So
that's the thing. A lot of these young people in any new industry, that they fail to remember, everybody starts from the bottom. Jeff Bezos started from the bottom. I had the luxury of riding along with a Uber driver down in Seattle that actually picks Jeff Bezos and his right hand woman up all the time. And he told us a story that back when there was only 5 of them, they used to draw straws to see who had to pack the books in the boxes. And Jeff used to lose a lot. So you got the guy who's one of the richest men in the world used to pack books in a box when it was Amazon books. So, it's not always pretty and glorious, but you'll get there if you work hard.
Absolutely. And then progressing from an install helper to an installer to now a service technician, right? What were some things that you had to learn? Because now from going to install to now you're in a more of a communication role with the homeowner, right? So how did you get those skills? Because when you talk to a homeowner, I mean, you come across super genuine and you know how to solve problems.
I got a lot of the technical from when I went to school, but the funny thing is when I got into service in my own van, I learned that it's not about technical. It's all learning about making a friend, building rapport, all the stuff you teach. Obviously, I've seen it. You've definitely been a sponge with it. The thing is what a lot of people, it's not about the wrenching. It's not about that. If people trust and like you, they're going to believe what you say and they're going to go with your recommendations.
Absolutely.
So I watched a lot of self-help stuff because, as you know, I grew up a little bit rougher and tougher and things like that. And I come off, and back when I was a technician, I was a lot bigger. I'm older now. I was bodybuilding, and big bald head, the goatee. So I had to learn a lot of things, how to soften that up, to be different in the home, to make people trust and like me. Tony Robinson, a lot of those type people back then. I did some of the airtime, quite a bit of the airtime stuff back then, when it was new, and we all used to go in there and, oh, this is never going to work. And I just kept plugging away and kept learning and learning till I understood it. That's the hardest thing, is a lot of people don't understand the message until you hear it a few times. You know what I mean? It's kind of like anything. So by the time the third time you hear something, you believe it. Well,
Yeah.
stubborn white collar, blue collar, contractor sometimes takes 5. But as I told you guys, years and years of training, take 10, take 20% of it. That's what you'll be successful with. And that's what I did. I just kept making things my own, and listening to my dad's advice.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you progress, one thing that I think you have a really big name in this industry and especially in the Sacramento area, is you're known to, go into companies now and, well, not now, but just a couple years back, and you would take a $2-3 million company and within 3 years you turn them into 10 million. You'd be able to go in there, you'd be able to dissect what they're doing, and you'd be able to turn them around.
Mm-hmm.
What made you so good, and what are things that you look at to maybe some of my business owners that are struggling right now and maybe they're not growing from that 1, 2, 3 million?
My best piece of advice to any business owners, even operations managers, general managers: listen to your people. One company I went into, we went from 2.5 to 10 million in less than 2 years. And when I got there, I kind of did an undercover boss thing, and went out as an installer, and then I was the service tech, and then I was a sales guy. Went and rode with sales guys. But the installers, we had guys that were talking about quitting because the company wouldn't buy them batteries for their meters or gauges and things like that. And the owner at the time just couldn't understand why he didn't have a good cohesive group of people. His culture just wasn't there. And I said, "Hey, can you afford batteries?" And he goes, "Well, yeah." I said, "Well, that's all the installers are mad about. Can we go get them a bunch of batteries? I'll go to Costco and get them right now." And we did that, and it was like Christmas, and it was the attitude and the way that people want to feel like that they're taken care of. And once we did things like that, changed the culture and showed people that you cared, the employees, and made them part of the team, part of the family, they work better for you. They represent your company better. All those things is built in a culture. And you remember, we used to have a 1, 5, 10-year board of goals. And as an owner or general manager, you need to focus on getting your team members to that goal, whether it's buying a house, buying a boat, those type things. That's what really made me successful, is putting the people in the right places and listening to my people and giving them what they wanted to be successful.
So how do you dictate who's the right person for the right position?
Um, you got to have a good sense for it. I think, your stomach. I mean, if you remember when you were a warehouse manager, you came in, I think, 4 different days in a row asking me to get into sales.
Yeah.
And then, I told you no, 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 and asked you to go talk to my daughter because I missed a lot of baseball games, softball games, and
Mhm.
things like that. That all of a sudden your kids are growing up. You know,
Yep.
I even told you to go talk to my ex-wife how much she hated me
Yeah.
being gone all the time. There's sacrifices. There's a lot of, and you know that you're traveling now and stuff like that. But when you have a drive and a passion, I think you feel that with people. I mean, I would bet you 100%. You meet certain people and you go, man, that guy's a beast. I'm gonna keep
Yep.
an eye on this guy. And then other people you don't give as much time, unfortunately, because people have to invest their heart and their passion, I think, into this business because people feel that when you're in their home.
Absolutely. And one thing I say when I'm out training and everything is I could sit here and train till I'm blue in the face, but after I leave, if you guys are implementing it, putting
Oh
action
yeah,
behind it, what I've been doing the last couple days is absolutely no value to you. We have to
hundred
implement it,
percent,
right? And that's what
hundred
that's
percent.
what's hard is people don't like to take action. So why do you think people in our industry don't like to put the action behind it?
Because everybody wants something easy. That's,
Mhm.
again, there's not too many people that would stuck with a podcast like you did until it just morphed into more and more and more because it was your passion. I mean, we all used to joke with you about it. Look where you're at now. I'll reflect back. I read an article about Tiger Woods when Tiger Woods was just coming back in or coming up in the game, and everybody just thought he was a phenom. And he wrote in an article, he says, when everybody after a tournament goes into the clubhouse, has drinks, has dinners, celebrates, he goes, me and my dad go out and we shoot every shot that I shot bad. We take that, we do that 100 times. He goes, that way my muscle memory, my mind, and everything doesn't forget it the next time. So that's how he got so successful so fast is he never stopped learning, never stopped working at it, never stopped, having the passion for it. And as
Mhm.
you can see later on in his career, he kind of did. Gotten,
Mhm.
his wife with a club and got in a car accident, started going to those parties more. But I think if you focus, drive in this industry, the the money is limitless. I mean, the success is limitless. If you look at most companies, they started from the bottom, but they're
Yeah.
successful for a reason. So
Absolutely. Bill, one thing that I talk about all the time is, what drives you, your purpose and your why, right? So,
mhm.
what is your drive, your purpose, and your why?
I think I told you, and I've always asked people what their goals are in things in life. My purpose is obviously my family. Um, my two beautiful daughters, they're both very successful in their own right. My son, he works for me. He's getting ready to get married. We're adopting a new little boy here, kind of following after you guys.
Yep.
But family means everything to me. That's my goal. That's what I do this for. But ultimately, being the youngest of 7 kids, kind of always being the hand-me-down kid. I got shoes that didn't fit and things like that. And it made me ornery, it made me tough, but it always made me worry about spending and money and things like that. I always said I was successful when I can just go to the grocery store and not worry about how much I have to buy. I
Mhm.
can go and buy a vehicle whenever I want. Those type of things. To me, to not have to worry about money is my success.
Absolutely. And now you're on, talking now further in your journey. Now you're on a huge journey right now, right? So, you got tired of working for other companies, building the owner's dreams into reality, right? And you said, you know what? It's time to make that plunge. And that was what, 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago.
Yeah,
And
right about.
now you have the good guys heat and air in Cameron Park or Sacramento area, Northern California, and you guys are absolutely killing it. Talk about how hard it was to build a company from scratch because you didn't go buy a company, you didn't go, absorb a bunch of clientele and everything. You're doing this from scratch.
Yeah. First, I tried to buy 2 different companies, and it was just, I started looking into them, started looking at more headaches and more problems that those people created. Um, and so I decided to get back in a van. I think I was 51 years old, went back out in a van and basically started running calls, Facebook ads, things like that, and just really relied on my family, friends, Facebook, things like that, and my service. And then I brought on another guy, another guy. And, I know it doesn't sound like a lot, but we did about 1.5 our first year, and we'll do a little about 3.5 this year. Our goal is to sit right around the 5 to 7. So we have that good family home business. I'm not looking to get too big because I'm getting too old for this.
Mhm.
But the thing is I get to pick a really good clientele. I get to really do a lot of good things for people that makes me feel good. I enjoy what I do again. It's a passion. My employees, my family is what I call them. We all work with growing this business. Every one of my employees have profit sharing out of their vehicles. So if they do so much revenue, they do those things. Everything they do is to work to make their business, which is my business, better. So I've done a lot of that. Again, the beauty of working with other companies is finding the good things and bad things. I ensure that I try not to do the bad things. I mean, it just depends on who you ask, but we're never going to be 100%. But I really, really thrive to do the 100% of the good things that I liked in other companies that I liked that I did, and I saw responses from. Um, you
Absolutely.
know, that's I think the really successful to me. There's other guys around me, companies that are huge, but when I hear customers stuff about them, it just turns my stomach that God forbid if I ever had that said about me.
So let's talk real quick, because one thing that you just talked about was you explained about giving great service, right? Being different than your competitors and everything like that. One thing you instilled in me is giving that wow factor. You go
Mhm.
into a call, you need to separate yourself from all your competitors out there and give them that big wow factor. You know, when we talk about that wow factor for my listeners, it's not just going to go tune up the system and do a beautiful job, right? Or cleaning
Mhm.
the coil outside. It's no, hey, maybe you see a bunch of trash outside in your install, or you have enough room in your truck. You ask the homeowner, hey, do you want me to go ahead and get rid of this stuff for you? Or you're in the hallway and you see a light bulb that's out, right? Let me go ahead and change this light bulb for you. That's the service that you guys need to provide. That is that wow factor service, which you always taught and instilled in me.
That's big. Our installers and service guys say before we put our ladder away, is there anything else that I can do for you outside of the scope of this work today? So again, we've cleaned gutters, we've taken trash, I've had one guy mow a lawn. Um, it varies. But it's the big reason why I named my company the Good Guys. We always have to be the good guys. We can't, be, Johnson's Heating and Air or a name air. It's a big thing that we really instill in every one of our guys to go out there and show that wow factor. We're very blessed with that. We probably work. If I've been tracking it, we're up in the 65, almost 70% of referral basis. And referral basis is also off of our reviews,
Mhm.
where we'll go out and say, hey, I called you guys because of your reviews. And it's never in there will you hardly ever read about, oh, they fixed this, or they were this. It's all about being on time, the extra stuff we did, how nice they were, their personalities. It's all about the people. Anybody can fix a box, guys. Anybody can fix a box. Anybody can sell a box. But are you going to be memorable enough for somebody to refer you or put a great review out there for you, so you don't have to overmarket? You don't have to go and dance on TV. You don't have to do those things if you're taking care of your customers like their family. And
Absolutely.
that wow factor is the full recipe to making that happen.
Absolutely. And then talking about the wow factor, going off of that, right? Then that adds into a club client, right? And I want my listeners to understand the value of a club client. So we charge different prices. Some companies charge 150, 200, 350, 250,
Mhm.
whatever it is, right? But as a technician, when you go in there and you don't re-sign that club, think about it right now as you guys are driving or listening to this podcast. How much is the company losing? Are they
The
losing the
company
200?
the company loses about $30,000 on average when you factor
Absolutely.
in what you can, what with that primary visit, with the secondary visit, the third visit, fourth visit, every one of those visits, whether it be a part piece or a review, anything, you have to get something on every call, guys. You have to make sure that you're representing your company and you're taking care of your client. And what I mean by something on every call is not revenue every time, whether it's a review, whether it's a referral, whether it's a future repair, a club, indoor air quality, something. You have to make sure that you're taking care of your client, because every system, I don't care if it's brand new, they need something. You have to be a full investigative technician or a sales guy. Get in the attics, get under the houses. There's money everywhere and there's
Absolutely.
opportunity everywhere,
Yeah.
and clubs allow you to visit that client. And the calculation, I don't know if it's still there, but they estimate it to be $30,000 per client. So every time you don't sign that client up for a membership, you're potentially cutting that out, because then they can go to somebody else next year that's offering a free. If you give a couple cans of applesauce, they'll give you a tune-up. Who knows what these guys are coming up with nowadays.
Yeah.
Um, but on average, it costs the company over $300 to put you in that van and put you in front of the house.
Yep.
And I'm pretty sure that's almost a nationwide number there, because workers' comp, gas, insurance, I mean, especially the way the world's going right now, gas is going through the roof, all those things. When you just say, oh, they didn't need nothing, everything looked good because you did a 30-minute tune-up, you know, that's not fair.
No, yeah, you're right. Not fair at all. We have to go through these things and actually look at. Here's the thing about it is we're doctors of our industry, right? So if we're not professionals and go through it, right? You got surgeons that make 500,000. You got people in our industry that make 500,000, right? But
Mhm.
here's the way that we justify it. We can make as much as surgeons, you guys, because if they make one mistake, it's only one life on the table, right? If we don't go through the system, we don't find a cracked heat exchanger, we don't find the flue pipe, right, being connected. It's the whole family. It's not just one life. So you guys have to think like a surgeon or better than a surgeon. We have to make sure we cross eliminate all the safety concerns every time.
Yeah, especially here in California, a technician is liable even along with the company. And you've heard me time and time again, I call it doing your vitals. You can't go into the doctor today with your arm just snapped off saying, hey, just fix my damn arm. They're going to go,
Mhm.
no, let us check your weight, let us check your temperature, and blood pressures and all that stuff, because they're going to check that to what you did last time. So if you came in 2 months ago or a year ago and you had a fever and all these things were normal, then all of a sudden now your blood pressure's up or something, then that kind of gives a telltale sign. There's many people that fall down and break an arm, go in, they find out they have cancer. So it's our job to make sure we do all the vitals on the job, go through the job thoroughly, and give them the solutions. Don't be afraid. Don't be sitting there and go, oh, how many doctors have to go out and tell clients they have cancer or they're dying or something's going on. They still have to tell them, because then they got to get a solution for them. They have to get a program for them. We're the
Absolutely.
same thing.
And it's crazy to me, Bill. I love that you say that, because it's crazy to me as I do ride-alongs across the nation of how many people are scared as technicians to say that they have a grounded compressor that's bad, or that they have a cracked heat exchanger or something like that.
Mhm.
Like, they're terrified to give them bad news, and I don't know if it's fearful of a bad review or to upset the homeowner. But at the end of the day, like you said, we have to educate these homeowners
Mhm.
and not be scared to relate the information of what we find.
Let me ask you this. If you go to the doctor and they just tell you, hey, you're dying, you're going, oh my God, how the hell's that happen? I feel pretty good. But if the doctor sits there and goes, hey, due to you smoking every day, this happening, you've done this and you've lived this kind of a lifestyle. I mean, you see the way I walk from all the stuff I've done. I've had more knee surgeries, everything else, but I understand where it came from. And if I just walked into the doctor and told him, hey, hey, you're dying, no way, I'd be very defensive. So if
Mhm.
you do those, you do your workups, you do all those things, and you come with a solution as to the problem, it's a lot easier to swallow that pill You can't just come in after somebody's unit's been running for 15 years and they have not had anybody out there. You come, hey, your heat exchanger's cracked. You got to replace it. Have you checked the static pressure? How clean is it? How's the coil look? How's the ductwork look? All those things. How stressed out has the system been running? It's
Yep.
cause and effect. But a lot of people want to come in and just go, boom, buy this. You can't put on that salesman hat until you have done your vitals and gone through the system and given them a reason why. And we always talk about the why. If people don't understand the why, they're not going to swallow a $4 or $5, $10,000 repair.
Absolutely. And, talking about giving information, one thing that Bill taught me, for everyone listening right now, this is a really good nugget for indoor air quality. Grab a wet wipe. First thing you do after breaking off to the homeowner, you go to the return intake and you swab the crap out of that thing, right? You get it as nasty as you can. You put in a Ziploc bag and you write their name and their address on it. You go into the kitchen, you drop it on the table or the island, and you walk away and you start your tune up. Then I talk about touching the homeowner every 15 minutes, right? So you go up to the system, you open it up, you got dirty blower wheel, whatever, take it out, show the homeowner, right? The first initial meet and greet, they're going to say, hey, what was this that you put on my table right here? Now you have an open conversation of indoor air quality, but I like to bring them to the return, set the ladder up and say, hey, you want to go ahead and take a look up there? 90% of the time, the homeowner is going to say no. Then you say, well, this is everything that got past your filter, right? So if it's getting past your filter, would you agree it's going in your system? Have them say yes. You're not telling them, have them say yes. Then you put it on them and you say, what can that do to your system? Build your case now. After they say their response, keep building. What else? What else? What else? Until they don't have anything else. Then you put it back on them and say, what do you want to do about this? Well, I want to get rid of it. That's going to be the response. And now you locked in indoor air quality.
Yeah. Use analogies also. I mean, they put filters on cigarettes for years and look what happened there.
Absolutely,
The
right?
carcinogens and the crap still gets through. Make sure if you do the wet wipe thing, go tonight, buy a box of the wet wipes, go buy the Ziplocs and write on a duck swab. And that way when you come in, you're using a duck swab and not a wet wipe from, the out of a box and stuff. So they may think, but then they see it and you say, hey, I'm gonna go ahead and you go to the furthest duct down the line. So I always refer to the ductwork as your arteries and the system is your heart. Again, most people in life, if they're over 25-ish or something, know somebody who's suffering or who has passed from lung cancer. So
Yeah.
you just say, hey, they have filters on cigarettes. Look at what happened. Oh yeah, my aunt died of that. Well, this is how your system looks, and you use those analogies where people understand. Again, you're giving them a solution from an understanding of cause and effect. If
Yep.
you just come in and say, hey, your ducks suck or your ducks are dirty, man, you need this new indoor air quality right here. It's going to make everything great. Well, they've been living like that forever. My mom quit smoking. 10 years later, she got COPD. Was she pissed off at the doctor? Or she remembered all the cigarettes she smoked from when she was 16 all the way to she was 70? You see
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying? So it's the same thing as understanding that cause and effect. That will get you the proper solution and people to understand that you are a professional and you are giving them a proper diagnostic.
Absolutely. And talking about proper diagnostic, but you also have to have a process, right? A lot of people get lost by not having a process. Bill, let's talk about the importance of having repetition every time in a call and having a process.
The purpose of repetition and process is just that. As we went through years ago with the sales process, it gets 105 out and you start just going, oh yeah, sign right here, and you didn't do your introduction or you didn't do your, post close, all those other things. But then it gets slow and you haven't practiced it or kept it in your thing, your repetition isn't the same. Then you start wondering why your success starts going down because the things that made you successful are now out of your process. So I try to teach, and unfortunately, not everybody listens, but that's in every, person's head, is repetition creates greatness and, process creates success. You have to
Mhm.
constantly put the floor savers on. You got to constantly knock on the door back out. Is it okay where I parked my vehicle? All those things. It doesn't matter if you're walking into a hoarder's house. Sometimes you use the floor savers to protect your own shoes. But what you're doing is you're constantly using that process to ensure that you're closing all the doors as you get towards the end, so you don't get an objection that you can't handle. And it's whether you're doing
Absolutely.
sales, whether you're doing service, whether you're doing install. Every one of my installers, when they get to the house, they have to a process. Hey, before I get started, let's walk through, do this. Okay, look at the review of the paperwork. At the end of this, there's going to be a $10,000. How do you plan on paying for that? Why do we do that? Because we don't want to have that at the eighth hour where we don't have time for our team to go make sure their process credit, make sure that we can take a check, make however they want to pay. You don't want your guys sitting out there on the eighth hour on overtime trying to figure out that. So we found that that part of that process is really, really important, because that objection at the end of the day, last thing an installer wants to do is argue about getting money, but a company has to
Mhm.
get paid. So as you were saying, that process is so, so vital to the success of you as a technician, sales guy, owner, and the whole company.
Absolutely. And one thing that you taught me that I do in my trainings today, every time I'm on an on-site, is you taught me when we take away from processes, right? You got a piece of paper. And let's say we go in right now, summer, the urgency's there. So as a technician or a comfort advisor, we start taking away, hey, we're not going to do a heat load calculation, rip the paper,
Rip.
right? We're not going to go ahead and wash the outdoor coil and show the homeowner, but I still turned it over, rip, right? And then by the end of the summer, all of a sudden you have a bunch of broken pieces of paper which represents a broken process. You throw
Mhm.
it in the air, confetti goes, pick up your process, right? It takes a lot of people to start piecing that together. And that's when they start getting their mindset and start putting that pressure on themselves and beating them up and getting their own heads.
Yeah. The way to help with that, keep a log. All technicians, all sales guys, keep a
You're big
log, a
on
daily
logs.
log. Huh?
I said, you're big on logs. I know that for a
Oh,
fact.
dude, it's because the thing is, you remember, Jay, you'd come in. Oh, I always say, either sales guys, woo, I'm the best in the world, or they've got a knife on their wrist. Um, but generally, when anybody comes in and complains that their leads suck, the customers suck, all these things, I say, go get your logbook. Let's find out where we started moving. And you can, if
Mhm.
somebody does keep a logbook and is honest to themselves in their logbook, that's why it's theirs. It's like a diary.
Yep.
You can go back and start to say, well, this is where your mindset started to change. This is where your brain started to attack, everybody else instead of yourself. And it's usually, in the off season, when
Mhm.
we have to stress and work harder. Well, that's because you lost part of your process in the summertime when it's 105 out, when people are
Yeah.
just buying stuff. So keep a log, guys. I mean, it's amazing. And then you get to go back, see 2, 3, 4 years of stuff, and you look at your growth, and you're going, holy crap. And in the front of your log, write your goals, write what you want to be doing daily, right? What you want to change it every month. Those are the things that your self-help stuff is what's going to make you very successful, and we're all guilty. We walk away from some of that stuff, forget some of that stuff. But when you want to talk about being a big player in this game, those are the things you have to do consistently.
Absolutely. And then talking about not only working hard in summer, right? But in off season, we got to work twice as hard. A lot of people
Oh, yeah.
think that, hey, it's off season. I'm going to go take my vacations and everything. Yeah, we're working 12 hours today, but in October, November, we need to even put in double the work, I think, and
It,
work
it,
twice as hard. Go find the opportunities.
and it's way more stressful for owners because they're hammering down because they're putting a lot more money into marketing. So now that
Yeah.
lead that cost them a couple $100 costs them $500 to $1,000 to put you in a home. So definitely, definitely understand there's no rest in this business.
No,
you're
I
gonna
mean,
be off season,
even
full season. It's it is what it is, man. We're in a customer service business. You got to always be on your game. That's why I said these tools that you're teaching these guys in these companies are so valuable. They have to understand that there's a lot of money spent to get you in a home. People
absolutely.
people don't just call up because they think you're a nice guy. You
Yep.
have to be in the papers, in the radio, whatever it is, however any company markets themselves. It's not cheap. Bad reviews, not cheap, you know.
Mhm.
So take all these nuggets and in this training and these self-helps, all these things. I mean, Weldon, all these guys, these are all guys that I still go to, listen to. Alex, all those guys are just mentors that they don't realize how much I idolize them, but I try to mold and do things like that of the people that are successful.
Absolutely. And you've always told me to surround myself with people like Weldon Long and Gary
Mhm.
Ellicks and all these people like that. And they're people that are just giving me all this wealth of knowledge.
Yeah. Hey, you got to be a sponge, brother. And I'm
Gotta be a
50.
student.
Yeah, yeah, student. I'm 54, and look at I'm still learning. I'm even learning shit from you now. you know, it was awesome to watch you in your new element. When I went to your other training to come out, compared to when I used to throw you up in front of the team and you got, you know. But everybody used to say, and you were one of them. I'm not comfortable in front of all my peers. I wasn't ready this morning, man. It's funny because I just saw you on a post in Facebook, and you posted that video of you and old JR Putman, and you're out in front
Yep.
of the van. I think you're like 400 pounds heavier,
Yep. Yep.
and
About 7 years ago.
you're like, I wasn't as comfortable. And Scott, your friend, made a thing. He says, you're still that guy. It's just you're more confident in understanding it. And it came from repetition. It came from just, and I know you're in front of the mirror. You got your clothes on. You're giving your presentation, before it's even a presentation. And that's what it takes. Do you think actors, athletes, everybody just goes out there, and just does their job? No, when we go home after watching them, they got to go back and do performances, practice, do all those things. Singers have singing coaches, all these people. It's crazy when you look at a multi-million dollar athlete of how much money they actually bring home because of all their other team that puts them in that position.
Mhm.
You're building a great team, and it costs and travel and all those things. You don't get to take all those pennies and dollars home. So
Yeah.
it's a constant understanding who you can mentor with, who you can get better with, and constantly learning.
Absolutely. And one thing talking about role playing that I had to understand is you have to put yourself in these situations that you do feel uncomfortable, right? Because when you can't succeed in those uncomfortable situations, man, disguise the limits of what you guys can do when you're comfortable. So, like Bill said, repetition on the trains. How often should you guys train? At least once or twice a week. Bring your guys in, do role play, talk about the prior week of maybe the calls you guys didn't happily involve homeowners with, right? And talking and getting everyone's perception. Because if you have 8 guys in the room, that's 8 different perceptions on maybe how you could have overcame that objection.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Don't be afraid to speak up. And the beauty of today, and like when I got in this business, there's so many um, outlets, so many opportunities to learn on your phones. I mean, tape on or book on tapes, a lot of
Mhm.
these podcasts. I mean, these things that are going to help you. If it doesn't completely help you, it will put you in a positive mindset. I guarantee you. If it doesn't, go serve French fries. If if you're listening to this today and it doesn't at least motivate you in a little bit, go ask, do you want fries with that? Because this isn't the business for you. You have to be passionate. You have to like what you do in residential stuff. If not, go live on a commercial building. Learn controls. But if you're in
Mhm.
residential sales, service, install, there's so much opportunity for you to learn that you have to have the passion for. If not, like I said, go be a commercial tech or go serve fries with that. You
Oh
know,
yeah. Talking about real quick, customer complaints, something that you mentioned not too long ago. I've never seen a better business owner, operations manager handle customer complaints like you do. You know how to take control of the situation. You're not scared to talk to a homeowner and you know how to calm them down. How do you do that, Bill? How do you put
um,
your emotion out of it and how do you calm someone down knowing that maybe your technician was doing the right thing for them?
the biggest thing is listening, and asking questions. And you know this, and I've heard you teach it. If you ask enough questions, you can understand how to take care of somebody 99.9% of the time. And you can understand how to sell them. You can do anything. And I always joke around. It's like you go in a bar, you don't just tell, go, hey, come on, let's go home. No, you sit there, you want to
Mhm.
ask them questions to find out, make sure you're compatible, everything. It's very similar to that. And whether you have a client you're trying to sell or an unhappy client, You have to ask and find out what the root of their evil is. Why are
Right.
they upset? What happened? Can you take care of it? The one thing you never say is I'm sorry. And the reason you don't say that is because, yeah, you're a sorry SOB is what you're probably going to hear, or they're saying that. So you just say, I apologize. And you have to say it sincere with an understanding of what you need to do to take care of them. Generally, another thing, when I get to that point where a customer's at, I say, hey, let me ask you one last question. What's it going to take to make you happy? Because you might be surprised. You're thinking about they're going to want thousands of dollars back, or they're going to be doing all this stuff. They say, you know what? X. And you're like, holy crap, I didn't think it was going to be X. I thought it was A, B, C, D, E, F, G, all for the whole damn alphabet.
Yeah.
And you'd be surprised of listening to people and asking them that one question will calm them down. It's so easy to be confrontational. It's so easy to be defensive. But you got to remember, and I ask this a lot during training and stuff, how many people can hand me $1,000 right now? You'll get a few hands. How many people can hand me $5,000? You might get four. Ask how many people in that training room today can give you $10,000. So if somebody gives you $10,000 for a heating and air system or a repair or anything, or most of them up to $25,000 nowadays,
Yeah.
that's a lot of money. Yeah, that's a life-changing purchase for them. And if they have a problem and you're not willing to listen to it, but yet you took their money, how dare you? It's your
Absolutely.
responsibility to ask that question. How can I make you happy? And you'd be surprised what you hear. People just want to be taken care of.
One more thing as we're almost to the close on this, Bill, talking about culture. How do you create a good culture in a company? Being part of some companies, growing them, getting their employees to buy in, as well as starting your own company and creating culture there. How important is a great culture?
That's 100% of your company. It's what molds your company. Because you have to remember, even if you fire somebody, even if you let somebody go or somebody quits on you, you still send them away happy. I know that sounds crazy and it's hard to do most times, but that person's going to be an advocate for you, or this person's going to go out there and trash your name. Same thing with your employees. Everybody who works for you, if they're not happy, they're not taken care of. It's frustrating because right now you're seeing a lot of people put out their $5,000, $10,000 signing bonus. And I saw the best post when I saw one of those. Somebody's like, why don't you invest that money with the current employees you have? Why don't you invest
Mhm.
that kind of, we're so trying to get new people and, oh, this guy's going to be great. Well, why not make your people great? Give them the training, give them a little bit of time off, help them with things, make sure their trucks are stocked, give them a little cash bonus every now and then, make them feel valued, that they're a part of your team. They're not just an employee. You can't do that. That's the old school way of thinking, guys. You can't yell at guys and tell them, no, I'm going to fire you. Guess what? They'll be in another van within 10 minutes around here,
Right.
but you know that, right? I'm looking for
Yeah.
technicians. Anybody? But
Yeah,
it,
so that's what I was getting into next, Bill, real quick. For my listeners across the nation, I got 10,000 plus listeners out there on every episode. If you guys are wanting a career change with a different opportunity with another company, another state, California, Northern California, Bill Roberts, my father-in-law, my mentor, he's hiring for what? Technicians, installers, comfort advisors right now,
yep.
everything across the board.
Again,
How can they get a hold of you?
you can email me at bill at Good Guys Heating Cooling. There's no and in there, just Good Guys Heating Cooling. Or you can call me at my office, 530-391-9339. Just ask for Bill Roberts and I'd be happy to talk to you. We're looking to do a little over 5 million next year. So that's why we're hiring, we're building. One thing that I pride myself on, I've never laid anybody off for seasonal work. So if I hire you, plan on living here. We want you to have a career here. We want to be family. We won't just lay you off because all of a sudden, that's my job, to keep you busy and feed your family and make sure your family's well taken care of.
Absolutely. And I want you guys to know that if you guys are looking for the opportunity, this is definitely the gentleman that will help you get to the next level. You guys write down your vision goal board, your 1, 2, 3 years. He will make it happen. I promise you guys. this is the whole reason why I am where I am today, is because that work ethic that he instilled in me, the training, and the belief. So thank you, Bill, for being a guest in the hot seat, brother. Until
Thank
next
you.
time.
Thanks, J-Dub. Keep rocking it, buddy. Proud of you.
All right. All right.
We'll talk to you later, buddy.